feeling like I'm Akademiks. Can't ride no wave.
This is interesting, chat. And we have a new update. Thank you, my man Memes, who just sent it. I think it's posted on DJ Akademiks TV. They said Diddy asked Trump for a pardon right after he got sentenced to 4 years. Let's see if we can find that. Now, remember what I said about the pardon for Diddy. I said if Diddy got convicted of sex trafficking or RICO, no way a president, even if like maybe Trump goes out on the worst terms ever, he's not pardoning that guy. You get me? Like, you're not family, he's not pardoning that guy. But if it's just the Mann Act, which means you're just buying pussy, it allows him the optics of pardoning you, but not looking crazy. Now, they're saying that Diddy asked for pardon, but let's.
Well, she's just a troublemaker, you know. I mean, she's no longer into the environment now. She's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now you can have her. She's just a troublemaker. Yeah, please.
The Supreme Court is back in its term today, Mr. President.
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back in session. Yeah. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to.
I think he's going to pardon Ghislaine. Ghislaine went up there and was questioned by the Department of Justice. And, you know, in that questioning session, she backed up Trump. She said, yeah, I seen Trump at the island. That nigga was never doing nothing weird. He was always keeping it P. That's what Trump needed, because they were starting to get on Trump's ass like he was down there with Jeffrey. But Trump, who you know, I think he did a little mismanagement on how he handled the Epstein files and all that stuff. Essentially, she kind of like rescued him out of that. You know, in terms of PR, obviously there's no like, he wasn't gonna go to jail or nothing like that. But I think Trump gonna pardon. No, actually not pardon. Let me be clear, because there's two different things. You have a pardon, and you could commute a sentence. A commutation means whatever you served until now, you're still guilty. Like, for example, he didn't pardon Larry Hoover, even though Larry Hoover has other charges, which are state charges, which he can't do nothing too. But he commuted them, which means that instead of serving the 6 life sentences that he had to do, he basically said, as of today, your sentence is fulfilled. So I think he's going to do that for Ghislaine. Hey, whatever years they gave you, as of today, your sentence is fulfilled. So I think he's going to give a commutation, not a pardon. A pardon means you never got convicted. Like, YoungBoy could, you know, well, he has other cases, but he probably could technically buy a gun. You know what I mean? He got pardoned by the president of the United States. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah, I don't think he's going to pardon her. He's going to give her a commutation. And by the way, this is just like me guessing. But apparently they asked him about Diddy afterwards. Here we go. So he's deflecting a little bit because I think he knows Shorty held him down good. You know, Trump is a nigga who I realize, like, yo, if you hold him down, favor for favor. That's gang. Yo, you hold him down, if he could return the favor, he got you. Right?
Appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't.
You say I'll take a look at that motherfucker.
Consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly. Steve?
Have you made a decision on whether to supply?
Well, you see how Trump is such a G. And no, it's not glazing, but like, you could tell he's actually thinking about it. but he deflected the question so well, and he threw something else, which is a bigger story into it, a bigger story currently. This is why he's so good with the media, right? He says, Puff Daddy asked me for a pardon, which we never got confirmed. And by the way, Diddy's legal team, they always act like, oh, well, that's not what we're focused on because we're focused on trying to, have him beat the case as we're doing the trial. And, they've been really like elusive in trying to answer this question about, are you in communication with Trump in trying to get a pardon? Trump, while trying to duck this Ghislaine Maxwell question, throws out a bigger story that outlets like me are going to bite into. Oh, Diddy asked me for a pardon. I guarantee the pardon wasn't, like, I see headlines being ran saying, oh, Diddy asked for the pardon after he got 4 years. No, I think Diddy asked for the pardon back then when Trump said he would look at it. I think he asked back then. But they're pressing Trump on Ghislaine, and Trump needed to get out of that, so he threw that shit in there.
Look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly. Steve?
Have you made a decision on whether to supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine or sell them to NATO and let them sell them to Ukraine?
Yeah, I've sort of made a decision, pretty much. If you consider, yeah, I think I want to find out what they're doing with them.
Yes.
Where are they sending them? I guess I'd have to ask that question. That war should never have started. Would have.
Now, a lot of people believe that Trump and Ghislaine, may have had like a little head nod deal to say, yo, if, you do this like, interrogation, so to speak, and you don't implicate me in shit, I got you later. I'm the president. You feel me? Now, I'm not saying Trump did nothing wrong because that's my nigga. But it's one of those like, yo, if you hold it down for me, I'm going to hold it down for you later. So we'll see. But Trump did say he's going to look at it, which, again, I think when Trump goes out of office, we're going to see the craziest pardons ever, my nigga. I ain't even going to lie to you. Shit. I think anything short of El Chapo coming out, like this shit might happen. This shit might go down when Trump is leaving, because that's when people usually do the biggest pardons, right? And remember, he can't run again. Okay, so Diddy takes a stand, does a bunch of crying, right? Let me see. Was my man Sean G there? I know I'm going a little bit slow, but remember we missed that day. Sean G. We'll get his, synopsis on it, and after his synopsis, let me see. Then we're gonna do our math on how much time we really think Diddy's gonna get, okay? And then we'll move on to some other topics.
Mr. Sentencing, it's going down tomorrow. This is my life.
Oh, no, okay. Oh, he didn't go live?
First offender, if she was such a victim,
Here you go.
self. Share this video.
By the way, while we're waiting, I meant to put this on after the Trump video. Look at 50 Cent, man. Is 50 hating, or is this how you treat your ops? 50 said, man, you can't get no pardon running your mouth like that. Get out of here. And he has a slide with basically,
You knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office, and he made
this is an old Trump interview.
some terrible statements. So I'm being honest. It makes it more difficult to do.
Now, as reports begin to circulate on Trump's response, claiming that Diddy dissing him is why a pardon more than likely won't happen, one moment in particular that may have cost Diddy his freedom has now resurfaced.
White men like Trump need to be banished.
When you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office.
Wow. Yo, Diddy don't want this man free at all.
I couldn't make it to the trial yesterday. Share this video. Share this video of New York judge on a Mann Act charge. Why did Cassie not show up here at the court and address the court herself? Why?
I'm gonna be honest. It's probably in the benefit of Diddy that she didn't show up. Now remember, she just had a kid. Like, she just gave birth, I believe.
Why not? Check Sean GL. Why didn't Jane Doe, if she was such a victim and she felt so she needed vindication, if Cassie needed vindication, why did not Cassie and Jane Doe show up and represent themselves at the sentencing and ask for more time for Puff? Why did the judge feel the need to do that? Check Sean G out. Check me out. Check my gear out. Look at my gear. Look at my gear. I got the dope gear on. I got the dope gear on. The abs is locked in. The abs is locked in too. A Southern District of New York judge gave a first offender, a man who was acquitted.
Now, I think this is where we're going to find out. And some people are going to, there's going to be so much appeals that's going to be flying, right? He is a first offender. Like, Diddy is not a felon. Diddy doesn't have sex charges. Diddy doesn't have a domestic violence conviction. Diddy has no convictions. So to have a first offender get slammed with 4 years, which, by the way, he got convicted of 2 counts. I'm not too sure how the judge looked at it in terms of sentencing, but that's basically 2 years and a month, right? 2 years and a month for each charge, which is 2 months, which is 2 charges. So that's 4 years and 2 months for prostitution?
Of 3 very serious charges, which would have landed him life in prison. A jury acquitted him of those charges. And he was left with 2 charges, Mann Act charges or prostitution, which are considered misdemeanors in state cases. Some states don't even prosecute them. And gave the first offender, first offense, no criminal history, no infractions at MDC Brooklyn, already served 12 and a half months, denied bail, yet still on very weak Mann Act prostitution charges, gave him an upward departure of 9 levels, enhanced him 9 levels, and did an upward departure, going against what he asked for. His word, Judge Submaranian, you lied, Judge Submaranian. Your word is some shit. You a liar. Because in your order dated July the 9th, 2025, you asked for USC 18-24-20.
Nah. But if you don't know, Sean G, he was incarcerated at one point. So like a lot of stuff is personal to him because he's been in some of these situations and he felt railroaded by the legal system then. And he thought that Diddy was getting railroaded by them now.
21, criminal history category 1, sentencing guideline range 2G1.1, subsection 1, subsection A, which is a base offense level of 14. You asked for that. If you wanted to add the coercion, which according to Mark Agnifilo, you mentioned 7, 8, 9, 10 times in your little soliloquy, It should have been enhanced in your letter to a USC 182422 with the enhancement for the coercion. But you didn't ask for that. You went against your own word. You went against your own word. You went against your own word. Never before in the history, well, let me not say that. Let me not get into saying things I have no proof, but it is an aberration. It's a standard deviation. 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 standard deviation for a judge to do an upward departure 9 levels on a first offender with a criminal history category of 0. I'm just telling you what it is. And I got the transcript. I got the transcript at the crib. I ain't read it yet. I have another business.
Okay. All right. Shout out to Sean G. I just want to give him some love real quick. I do want to show. So 50 posted this. Again, 4 years, 2 months. That's 50 months, right? So 4 years is 48 months. Add 2 more on to it, it's 50 months. Let's try to do some math on reasonably when Diddy might come home. Now, so Diddy was locked up on September 16th, 2024. Let's do the math. Diddy's been incarcerated for a year and a month, right? September, October, right? So he's been locked up for 13 months, right? I want to show you guys how I do this because this is how we could reasonably understand. So actually, I'll just keep everything in Google because they have their AI. He's sentenced to 50 months. 50 minus 13. That's 13 months. Diddy would have 37 months left, right? So 37 months to years. That would be 3 years from then. However, there's a few things helping Diddy out. Let's reverse the math and let's go back to the 50 months he's sentenced to. The 50 months he's sentenced to, before we even get to time served, is going to be offsetted by what's called good behavior. Diddy ain't up in jail doing all the bullshit. He's not trying to fight people. He's not trying to do this. He ain't trying to blah, blah, blah. The federal guidelines allow for 15% off of your sentence for that. So let's do this. Calculator. Okay, we got one here. So 50 months times 0.85. That's going to be 42 and a half. We're going to call it 43 for the sake of conversation. So even though he was sentenced to 50 months, if he was going to serve all of it and given good behavior time, he would serve 42.5, or let's just call it 43 months. Okay? So let's use the new number, 43. 43. Now, there's 2 things that are operating that might help him out. And we're going to Google it. There's, number 1, the First Step Act. Don't know if you guys know what that is. Which president signed the First Step Act? Which, by the way, oh my God, signed the Constitution, no. First Step Act, and this is not an endorsement of, Donald J. Trump, but Trump is the person who did it. Now, what is the First Step Act? So the First Step Act, and we get an overview here. This is the Federal Bureau of Prisons. He signed into law in 2018, which basically it wanted to improve criminal justice outcomes and reduce the size of federal prisons. Right. So this matters for federal crimes, federal prison. Diddy happens to have a federal crime and is in federal prison. So it requires the Attorney General to develop a risk and needs an assessment system to be used by BOP to assess the recidivism risk and criminogenic needs of all federal prisoners. Okay, now this is going to be like long-winded, but to kind of make it a little bit succinct, it gives federal inmates up to 45 or 54 days of good time credit for every year of their imposed sentence. Okay, so essentially, and by the way, there is some requirements here. Some of the requirements, and by the way, I think the First Step Act was meant for people who were incarcerated federally for crimes that had to do with, maybe some sales of drugs, but you were like, you're the first time you ever got locked up for such a crime. You're not like a drug kingpin, right? And it wanted to, it says eligible inmates can earn time towards their pre-release custody. Offense that makes inmates ineligible to earn time are generally categorized as violent. Does Diddy have violent allegations? Yes. But violent convictions? No. Involving terrorism, espionage? No. Human trafficking, sex, and sexual exploitation. Now, this is where they're probably going to argue this. It might go to appeal. They're going to try to probably argue that Diddy's Mann Act violation, even though that's sex, that's in the sex realm, that it's not necessarily, it shouldn't be not considered. But I'm going to be honest with you, I think they're not going to consider Diddy for the First Step Act. So again, also it excludes offenses as a repeat felon in possession of a firearm, blah, blah. So basically, if this wasn't a sex charge, Diddy would be like shoo-in for this. I don't think this is going to help him out. But just to let you know, 54 days of every year that was sentenced, let's see how that would play out if we were supposed to think about it. 54, remember, it's every year. Each year, so Diddy has 4 years. So it would be 4 times 54, right? That's 220. Do I got my math right? I think I do. 4 times 54 is 220. And then there's 2 months, so we get some time off of that too. So like 220, let's call it 235. 235. So Diddy would have gotten 235 days off for the First Step Act. He's not a felon. He's whatever. This is the first time these things are happening. He would have gotten time off based on the First Step Act. However, because his conviction does involve some sex stuff, I don't believe he will, because the First Step Act bar people who involved in human trafficking. Diddy wasn't accused of human trafficking or sex trafficking, but there was sex. I think they would consider the Mann Act sex exploitation, honestly. So already, remember, so good time, we got a calculator here, 43. If the First Step Act was supposed to work, we would have minused another 12. So it would like about 12 months, because it would be 250. Actually, we could say like maybe 11 or 10 months. But even then, even 10 off of this is good, right? So it would have been down to 33. Now, what is going to help Diddy, because I don't think this will help him, but if it did help him, let's say we're nice. We're going to add this 10 back. We're going to add it back because I don't think he's going to qualify for this because of the nature of the charges. But let's act like he's getting everything his way. Minus 10. So he would have to serve 33. Keep in mind, he's done 13. So we're going to minus the 13 off of it too. So we got 33 months to serve. Remember, good behavior and First Step Act. But there's another thing that would help Diddy out. What would help Diddy out is called the RDAP program, right? Now, what the RDAP program is in federal prison early release is that it says there's different categories of it, right? So if you're serving between 31 to 36 months, you get 9 months reduction if you do the program. And by the way, how it works is that they have to determine that you had a drug problem. The eligibility is To qualify for the reduction, an inmate must have a verifiable substance abuse problem. I think that's easy to prove for Diddy. Like, Diddy literally was taking 15 drugs, not only to fuck the bitches, but to do his thing. So, like, he's definitely going to qualify. Priorities for the program placement is given to inmates with early release dates, so wait times could be long, especially for those with longer sentences. It's open to nonviolent offenders, and participation is voluntary. This is a program that's definitely going to be in Diddy's wheelhouse. This is what Diddy needs to come home earlier. So what would it help him with? So the sentence length determines a reduction. So Diddy was given 50 months. So we don't even have to think about these, right? So if you're only given 30 months or less, you can only get 6 months off. If you're given between 31 and 36 months, you can only get 9 months off. But when you're given over 37 months, which Diddy was given 50, you could get up to 12 months. So if Diddy goes to this program and he, does this drug program, the RDAP program, we have to minus 12 months, okay? So it says inmates serving over 37 months or more could receive the whole 12-month reduction. So let's go back to the calculator. Remember, 43 is good time. So he got sentenced to 50. 43 is good time. We gave him the 10 for the First Step Act, but I don't think he's going to qualify. But we're acting like he qualifies. Remember, we said we're going to add it back at the end. Okay, cool. So we're at 33, but let's minus another 12 because he's going to do the drug program. That's a fact. Minus 12 leaves him at 21, right? With the 21, he already served 13. Minus 13. 8 months. Which means two months in prison, 6 months in a halfway house. Usually a halfway house around 6 months or so, they'll start transitioning you back to regular society. They'll put you in a halfway house, which is basically like jail camp, right? Now, so what would be left is the 8 months to serve. Now, I don't think he's going to qualify for the First Step Act that Donald J. Trump signed into law would help him with it, because the Mann Act is still a sex charge. It's still a charge involving sex. So we're going to have to put it back there. So 8 plus 10 is going to be 18. Okay? So what we believe that he's going to have to serve is 18 months. Let's think about 18 months. 18 months would be a year. Remember, you need 6 months for around 6 months for a halfway house. So he would serve a year from now and go to a halfway house. So if you ask me, Diddy will be free next year, September, or next year, October. And when I mean free, he'll be in a transition stage, getting out of a halfway house, coming back to society. Okay? Granted, if the First Step Act, along with the drug program, all kicked in, Diddy would only be locked up for 2 months. Additionally, obviously he's been locked up already. But from what it says, it looks like Diddy will be out in 18 months, which means, remember, we got a minus 6 for the halfway house, because by the time he had the halfway house, he going to be on Instagram and shit like that. You just won't see him because he has to go back to the halfway house. But that's going to be in a year, because 18 minus 6 is 12. That's a full year. So we're talking about him being out next year, October, or September, and max, I would say, November. Okay? So that's the math that I did. Obviously, the Bureau of Prisons are going to have to do their own math to kind of figure it out themselves. And then they're going to figure out what programs apply, what to give them for time served, what to whatever. But that is the thing. Now, there is some news coming out. Diddy is asking the judge that he wants to go do his time at pretty much a low security federal correctional institution in New Jersey. His legal team asked and said that, hey, FCI Fort Dix, pause, is the best landing spot for Diddy because he could address his drug abuse issues. Remember, they keep heavy on the drug abuse. Why? RDAP program, right? And he could maximize family visitations and rehabilitative efforts. Tenny's father, Mark Garagos, previously told Harvey that Diddy will have a target on his back wherever he ends up. And Diddy's attorneys told the judge Friday that someone already planned to shank Diddy. Wow. Other celebrities have done time at FCI Fort Dix, including Teresa and Joe Guides, or Guides, I'm probably fucking it up. Judge Submaranian could recommend a prison for Diddy as well. It doesn't have to be one of those, but ultimately it will be the Bureau of Prison that has the final say. He's been locked up for over 2 years at MDC, and he'll call the federal prison home for more than 2 years. And it'll be interesting to see if the BOP agrees with the lawyer recommendations or if the feds will ship him off somewhere else. By the way, we checked. Herbal oil and prayer oil are available, but there's no baby oil at Fort Dix Commissary. Hilarious. Let's hear what Tenny Garagos' father, Mark Garagos, has to say about this. Here we are. Here we are. Okay. Sorry. Waiting for this ad to be done. Apologize. I see y'all in here. Okay, here we go.
Are you concerned that Sean Diddy Combs could be sexually assaulted, violently assaulted? Is that a thing? Because based on what was said in court, it feels like a thing.
Yeah, it clearly is a thing. I mean, they're already, and he did not want to make a big deal of it. They already tried to shank him once at the MDC, and that was thwarted. And it happens in prison. I mean, you and I could tick off how many times we are aware of somebody getting seriously injured or killed in prison. And so they're going to have to keep him somewhere that they can keep an eye on him. It would have obviously been better if he had gotten less time and had been at a camp, but he's going to be in a facility where somebody's going to have to, from the BOP, and I think they're well equipped to do it if they can, to keep an eye on him because he is a target.
So let's say he is sent to a minimum security prison. Is he out of the woods when it comes to that kind of assault?
If you're going, you and I talked about Ghislaine Maxwell, who went from the one place in Florida, which was a higher level, not a camp, and she was transferred after she did the interview with the couple-day interview. She was transferred to what they call a camp in Texas, which I'm familiar with. I've had other clients in. So a camp is generally one of the better places to be. And the reason for that is because a camp is basically you get certain privileges. And if you step off of the line, so to speak, if you violate, if you do anything that is not according to Hoyle, they will immediately send you someplace a lot more onerous. So that's why I say, in the long-winded answer to your question, yes, you've got to get designated somebody. I know he wants to be New York adjacent. If I'm Sean right now, I'm going to be angling for someplace like Lompoc satellite camp or something along those lines.
But that still doesn't answer. Is he out of the woods when it comes to being sexually or in any way assaulted by being in a minimum security prison?
Look, it's a prison. Anywhere you go is a prison. You always have to watch your back, literally. And if that's the case, you're never really out of the woods until you're released. Or you go to a halfway house, or you get into one of the programs. But if you are in a camp or in a low-level designation, your odds go down dramatically.
Okay. So Diddy wants to spend his time at a low-security prison. We don't know. Okay? Let me see.